A great Monday morning to you all. I hope everyone is doing well. We've got a very, very important, very, very emotional show for everyone today. And as you can see, right at this moment, we're a little light on the family. We're hoping that we're going to have a couple of people to join in. Unfortunately, we are going to be minus Stephanie on the screen. She says she's going to be joining us and messaging in and participating that way. We do have an announcement. We're probably going to be switching the time of the show because Stephanie is so important to our mission that we don't want to exclude anybody. So we're going to be talking about that with the family, and we're going to let you guys know. It won't take effect immediately. We'll still be in this slot for a little while. As a matter of fact, we're still going to be in this slot. No matter what time the show goes, we're still going to replay the show at this time for everyone who's become accustomed to seeing this show here. And we don't want to upset the apple cart. We want to make sure that everybody can still participate. As you all know, I replay these shows many times throughout the week just because there's so much good information that is shared. One of these people who has shared some of this great information is a new member to our family, Miss Diamond Drip. How you doing, Diamond?
I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. I know that we got a lot of response and people who were very interested in this in the psilocybin part that you brought in. They were interested and wanting to learn more, and I think that that's really what this is all about. Diamond, you also do a lot of other thing with business. Why don't you explain to us what a business resilience coach is?
I love that. Yes. Thank you, Zach. So business resilience coach really just came from my own personal need to separate myself from just other business coaches. And one of the things that I noticed about my journey, my story, is that I am resilient. And one of the things that you need in business is resilience because
Yeah.
you will fall down quite a bit. You will learn a lot. And so it is my great honor and privilege to help other business owners, especially those who are thinking about quitting, be able to give them hope, give them motivation to, keep fighting the good fight, as they say.
Yeah. We, again, I am just thrilled to have you as a new family member and putting in your part. And I think this is the perfect time for you to join this show. Now joining us, and I am so happy to see you, Erin Davenport, New Age to New Creation. How you doing, Erin?
I'm doing great. I hope your guys' day has been awesome. Happy Monday. And as Diamond probably could resonate with, Monday is what we make it. Absolutely. It can be the greatest day of the week.
You know, this is something that is really off topic, but I just noticed you guys have like the same color hair now.
I love it.
So yeah, a little bit different. Oh, and Erin, just to let you know, we played your episode with your parents' episode that we had last week, and I have a disagreement with something that you said. You mentioned
Okay.
something on your episode about how you and your sister did not look a lot alike. I'm sorry, sweetie, but I disagree with you. You and your sister look a lot alike. So, but we spent a lot of last week playing your two episodes back to back because we spent 2 hours with your parents last week, which was something that we'd not done so far. But after the loss of your sister, and then so we ended up putting the 3 hours together and playing it quite a bit last week, and it was extremely moving. And I know that we had a lot of people who were reacting to it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing, and then we're going to go on ahead and get to our guest. But how do people get a hold of you, Erin, if they want to talk to you more about what you and your parents were talking about? If you've got somebody to worry about, that they're worried about in their family, because you brought it up, you've still got a sibling that you worry about every day, and you went through your own demons and your own battles. So anybody who wants to talk, Erin's a perfect person to contact.
Yeah, thank you so much. And so, as anybody who's listened and tuned into us before and during my share, I'm kind of like in a transition, a cocoon, you could say, of shifting. But I do have a background as a life coach and recently had a born again experience this year that's just been really amazing with this new chapter. So I have a lot of insight. And so if anybody wants to reach out to me, please, my email is my first name, Erin, at New Age to New Creation. So luckily that's there on the screen for the most part, .com. And feel free to reach out to me. I also have a trip that's going to Kenya in February, and I'm really excited about that. And just the amount of healing that happens when we come together in a community, especially when we are removed from the atmosphere where we are so comfortable in our day-to-day doing the same thing, unless we're very intentional about that. And really just to get outside that comfort zone and lean in and grow together. So if you have gone through something, and again, I'm not a therapist or anything like that, but if you've gone through something and you want to be a part of a close-knit community that is very authentic, open, real, and to experience the beauty of Kenya and nature, uh, feel free to reach out to me, email me, and I'd love to share a little bit more about that as well. But you don't have to come to Kenya to have a conversation with me. So feel free to email me and I would love to connect with you further. But yeah, I'm very passionate, as Zach talked about, that, bringing awareness, helping people who are struggling with their inner demons, as he mentioned, and what I've gone through as well with that is I can tell you I've been in a dark place where, like, what is the point of life? And we have these questions, and what do we do with those questions is really important. And so my younger brother, he really struggles still today. My dad had my biological dad had suddenly passed away, and my little brother was 10 and was the one that found him at the kitchen table, and he had just died. And there was no explanation, there was no expectation that that was going to happen. And so he's gone through a lot of trauma. And so that kind of darkness still follows him today. So as Zach said, there are still people on my heart that are very close to me that I do, worry about, I guess is a word you can use. And that I try to stay in touch with him intentionally because I know what he's navigating through, not only just as a sister, but as somebody who cares.
Yeah, we unfortunately, and not meaning to do any disservice to your family, but we haven't had a lot of time to talk about your biological father. We've focused a lot on your sister, but losing any parent, thankfully both of mine are still around. They're getting a little bit older, but both of mine are still around. We're actually very close because we've kind of stepped in to start taking over the bills so they can live the twilight of their life and stuff. But I know that we're trying to prepare ourselves, but I'm not 10. I've been 10 a couple times, 5 to be exact, but I just know that I'm not going to take it very well, so I can just imagine. But ladies, this is a subject today that I don't know if either of you guys got to watch the interview the pre-interview that Holly and I did, but we did something that was, the discussion that we had was very impactful in my life, because her and I have, she's wanting to reach out to some people that we can actually help her do and help her talk to. I'm really hoping to get her involved with the Avery Center, which is one of our mission partners here at Community Pay It Forward. By the way, my name is Zach Clayton. I run Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care. I'm so terrible at doing this. I really am. You can reach me at my card, which is right here, or just call me at 970-909-0751. We try to help people raise money when money is needed. We also offer free clothing, free housewares, free furniture to people who need it in the northern Colorado area. We'd like to talk to you about how to work with us to work for your community. So just reach out to us anytime. But joining us now is our guest, a friend of mine. We've gotten to know each other over the past couple months, thanks to a Colorado meeting. Miss Holly Miller. Holly, how are you doing?
I'm doing amazing this morning. Thank you so much.
Well, when you and I first started talking, I was a little confused on what was going on, because you are doing the oils, the essential oils and everything, but you're doing it for a specific reason. And that reason is very, very powerful. Why don't you first tell us about your reason, please?
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to first say, hi, Diamond. You got a beautiful smile, and I resonate with that big time. And Aaron, I do want to go to Kenya, but I also, I feel the empathy for losing a sibling. My brother passed away 18 years ago, so I know what I went through. But why I'm doing what I'm doing is it's extraordinarily personal. I love my essential oils for sure. The emotional side of essential oils is where a lot of people don't understand. And it's been such an awesome journey of being able to understand the impact of what they can do for your body physically, as far as health concerns are a point. But when you dive deeper and you can understand that every single plant on this planet has a purpose, that's multitude of purposes, whether it's warding off and fighting bugs or bacteria, etc. And they also are multifaceted in that they can and do all have an emotional component to them. So it's understanding what they can do for you emotionally, and how they can calm you down, how they can give you energy, how they can give you peace, help you sleep, maybe help you through emotional turmoil that you're going through, help you to forgive, which is huge, help to motivate you, things of that nature. So
what is it about the oils that make them, in which, there's always the senses that we have. There's something in the senses that can always be a calming effect. Obviously, there's also the senses that can do it the opposite. But what is it about the essential oils, in which, as you can well see, I've got I've got my scented candles going. I've got the wax burner going. Usually I have some incense going. The only thing I don't have are essential oils right now. But, and then of course I got the dogs going, and that their going is in the wrong direction. But, so yeah. But what is it about the essential oils that that people are really starting to gravitate to? Because I know essential oils have become so important to so many people.
Yeah, it's almost a bandwagon effect, it seems, which I guess has its pros and cons. But I think what people are starting to really understand is that your sense of smell has an instant and immediate response to memory, and how your brain is going to internalize that. So if you've ever had an experience where you've walked in a room and all of a sudden grandma is on your mind, and you're like, oh my gosh, this smells like my grandma's house when I'd walk in on Thanksgiving morning, and it smelled like the best pumpkin pie on the planet. Um, and you instantly have that memory that gives you that serotonin and endorphin rush, that dopamine feel, and it brings you such joy, and you have absolutely no idea. And that's because of that connection. And matter of fact, when you smell anything, whether it's an essential oil or an onion, it doesn't matter. Um, your brain, it goes through your olfactory, which is right here, which goes into your directly into your limbic system, which sends signals to your brain to tell your brain how to respond. um, it gives you a memory, and you may not even know it. And so it can be good and it can be not good. Most people love the smell of like oranges and things like that because it has a release of serotonin. Um, but not everybody does, because everybody's trauma or trigger could have been they lived next to an orange field and their, you know, childhood wasn't so great. So that can always be, you know, an issue. But it's very interesting how it works, and I love it. I've been doing that for 10 years. It's been really fun.
You had to, well, you didn't have to, obviously. Your story, which we, if you don't mind, we'll get into now. Um, you were driven to try to help people because of a loss that you suffered because of an incident that happened when you were very young.
Hmm.
Can you please tell us your story?
Well, it goes back, geez, nearly 4 decades ago, because I am that old. I was,
I'm still older, and I
I was,
definitely look older, so that's all I'm going to say about that. But
hey, it's good when you still get carded at this age.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, yay. But I was 14 years old, and I was with my girlfriend Julie. I was staying the night at Julie's house, and Julie and I decided that we were going to go to a party. We were going to go to a drinking party, and we started to walk to this drinking party. Which in Colorado, when you go to these parties, they're not like, you know, at the neighbor's house. They're outside. They're far away from town. They're usually outside of city limits, things of that nature. And so we decided we were going to hitchhike to the party. And we walked quite a bit, and then we started to hitchhike. And we had a gentleman pull over, and he picked us up, and I instantly knew I knew who he was. I was like, oh, hey, I know you, but I can't remember your name. And he gave me a name, which instantly sent some like weird red flag signals to me, because it didn't sound right. I'm like, oh, that's weird. That doesn't sound like the name I was thinking in my head. And we drove up, and the party was there, and he passed the party and kept driving up the mountain. And I'm like, yo, you need to pull over. What's going on? Like, hey, we want to go to the party. And he kept saying, well, you know, I'm going to turn around up here. It's an easier place to turn around, blah, blah, blah. Well, he finally did pull over, and he offered both of us marijuana. And I absolutely was not having anything to do with that. I never was into drugs. And so I was like, no, I'm cool, dude. Just want to go to the party. I want to drink some beer. And he smoked a joint, and then he did take us down and dropped us off at the party, and he stayed at this party. And my friend and I, we're drinking beer and we're having fun. And we finally are like, we got to get back to the house before we get wasted. We need to leave. And so we just decided we were going to walk. We were just going to walk home. And no big deal. We'll just walk. And so we start walking down the hill. And the next thing you know, he's in his truck and he's following after us. And for some reason, I told my friend, I said, Julie, run. And we started to run. I don't know why, but I was afraid. It had that internal fear. And I don't know if it was Julie or if it was me. I don't remember. But one of us fell into a puddle and we got drenched. And I don't remember which one of us it was. And that's when he pulled over and stopped and was like, girls, come on, I'm going to give you a ride. And it almost felt as if I really didn't have much of a choice, because we're in Colorado, and even though it was the summertime, in the evening in Colorado, it's cold. No matter what time of year it is, it's cold. And so it was probably 40 or 50 degrees outside. It was cold. And now one of us is wet. And so we got in the truck and started to head down the mountain. And it was just a few minutes later when he pulls over to the side of the road, says he needs to go to the bathroom, gets out of the truck and goes behind the truck. This is when he retrieved a knife and zip ties. And then he came around to the side of the truck. I was sitting in the middle. It was just a one seat, kind of bench seat truck. And I was sitting in the middle, and Julie was sitting on the passenger side, and he opened up the passenger side door and reached over with a knife to my throat. And my immediate response was to laugh, because I thought it was a joke. I'm like, what? I'm like, very funny. Move on with your tricks. And I realized pretty quickly that he was serious. And he bound both of us and then made Julie lay down on the floor of the truck and then had me lay down on the bench of the truck. And he drove around for a while. I don't know how long. And I kept looking out the window to navigate where I was. It was a small town, and so I kind of knew where I was, but I wasn't 100% sure. I kind of knew where I was. And Julie was crying, and I just remember the radio was on, and I was singing to her. I don't know why that popped in my head, but I was singing to her and holding her hand with our hands tied and just telling her, we're going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And he finally stopped. He pulled over at a dirt gravel parking lot out of town. And he proceeded to rape us. And he raped me first. And then he raped Julie. And during this time, I never once thought that we weren't going to be okay. I don't know why. I really don't. I have no idea. But what was going through my head was, how can I get this guy? Like, how can I get him? And so I remember walking around to the back of the truck and looking at his license plate. And I memorized his license plate. I still remember it. I still remember his license plate number. I remember looking into the bed of the truck and memorizing like the things that were in the bed of his truck and where the spare tire was. And inside the truck, he had a rip in his upholstery, and I was pulling the foam and stuff out and shoving it into my pockets. And I was ripping out my hair and I was throwing my hair into the truck. And this was long before DNA was known. Like, we didn't have any idea about this. But for some reason, this is just how my body responded. And I was just going through the motions of how I can get this guy. And finally, he's got us both back into the truck, and it gets a little fuzzy because I don't remember the specific details, but I don't know how he let us go, because during our trial, he had told the court said he had intended on killing us. And for some, I don't remember if I forced him because I got the knife from him and made him drop us off, or if he had a change of heart and he dropped us off. That's where, when you go through trauma, you have this, sometimes you make up the narratives in your mind and you don't really know reality from not reality. So that part of it, I'm really pretty fuzzy on. But he ended up dropping us off fairly close to where my brother lived. And my brother's neighbor was Julie's mom. So that's where we were supposed to be staying the night. And as we're driving there, he warned us and he said, "You remember, I know who your family is. And if you say anything, I'm going to kill you and them." And the threat was not real to me, but the threat was very real to Julie. My family, I just remember thinking, if you really did know my family, you'd know that my dad will put a bullet through your brain. And my brother will torture you before he puts a bullet through your brain. So that was a threat that was so laughable to me. And it never even crossed my mind that I would not report it. It just was never, ever a consideration. And we ran, and Julie ran straight home and went straight into the shower. And I ran straight home, or straight to my brother's house, and called 911.
One of the things that first got your awareness up was his age. He was sticking around a teenage party, and he was quite a bit older. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was 28 from recollection. I think he was 28.
Diamond, did you?
Yeah, I had a curious just about what Zach just asked about, because you said one of the other red flags was that his name was different. Was this because like maybe he had gotten caught up before in something and he was in the paper? Like, what was the situation with that? Or was that just something internally, like intuition, that you were like, that's not your name, I don't think?
It wasn't his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as it turns out, during my trial, 8 women had come forward that he had raped before. He had moved from Denver maybe 6 months prior to him moving to my little town. And none of those women reported it.
Yeah.
So when he picked us up, his intention was to do that. The opportunity was there. We made poor choices. And the opportunity was there for him. I think originally when he first took us, he was going to, rape us at the very beginning. And he realized pretty quickly that mountain, he was new to the area. That mountain, there's nowhere else you're going to go. The only way out is back down that mountain. You're not going anywhere else. And I don't know that he knew that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, red flags.
Your relationship with your friend, was it always one of those that, you were because we've we've all got the relationship where one person's a little bit stronger than the other one. Was it always that way, or was it one of those things that really raised out of the necessity of this situation?
I just feel it's just different types of personalities. I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and I grew up kind of quick, and I was on my own pretty early. We were latchkey kids before that was even a thing. Both my parents worked, and it just, I guess it was just innate in me to feel like I should protect her. Even though, if you look at it, we were both 14, um, it's not like I was an adult, trying to protect a child, but I think it was just personalities, innate. I'm still the same person. I still feel a very strong sense of protection. I always have, particularly with people I love. I will die on the cross for them. Friends, family. So
Go.
No, go for it, please.
I was just going to say, so as a victim of sexual abuse myself, when you made the distinction that you called 911 and Julie took a shower, I couldn't help but shake my head just instinctively, because I'm like, no, you don't do that. No. So you said something about a trial. I'm just wondering what happened with Julie in that situation.
Well, the trial was pretty lengthy. I don't remember how long it took. It was probably a year and a half before he was convicted, I imagine, in jail the whole time. Julie, as soon as Julie could, she left. She moved. She moved to Denver, and she moved in with her dad. Her parents were divorced, and she didn't have the greatest childhood. And her parents didn't have very much money. And so I think she just wanted to run from the situation. And I can totally understand that. I wanted to run too, but I couldn't run. My parents weren't going to leave. So she ran and went to her dad's. And actually, during the trial, she was living in Denver. She just would come back and testify, do all the things she needed to, and then go back to Denver. So I didn't see her. Really during the trial, or much after that, actually, at all, ever. I saw her face to face only one time as an adult, and I knew she was in a bad place. And at that point, I was probably, I think I was 23 the last time I saw her. And you could just tell she was in a really bad place. She had turned to drugs and alcohol, was in an abusive relationship, just not good. And at that point in my life, being so young myself, and I was going to college, I just decided that was something I needed to separate myself from, because at that stage of my life, I couldn't help her. I didn't know how to help her. I was barely able to help myself, it felt sometimes. And so I completely distanced myself from her and lost track of her for many, many years.
Her story, unfortunately, ends tragically.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us about the decisions she made and how it unfortunately ended her life?
Yeah, I would say about 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago, I received a phone call. I was a paralegal. I was working at a law firm, and I received a phone call on my cell phone, I guess. And I answered it, and it was Julie. And I hadn't heard from her. I hadn't had any communications with her in 20 years. And she was very distraught because a book had been written about the person who kidnapped us and raped us. And it was his mother who had written the book. Now, I had found out about the book maybe a week prior and had read the book myself, and I was pretty emotional as well. It was really disheartening, all of the lies and the way we were portrayed in this book. And Julie called me because she wanted us to sue the author of the book. And working in a law firm and understanding how the law works, you can sue anybody for anything. If they look at you wrong, you can sue them.
Yeah.
For detriment. It doesn't matter. And I just didn't have it in me to pursue that for several reasons. Number one, financially, we would it would all be me. It would have all been my finance, my financial burden. But even more so than that, I had to really dig deep as to what my motive would be if I were to pursue a lawsuit. And to say that you won, because the woman did not have money. So even if we had won $1 million in a lawsuit, we would have never seen a penny of that money. And to put myself through reliving it over and over and over again for another trial, another lawsuit that's going to be years in the making, it was not in the cards for me. So I told her, listen, I get it. I explained to her all of my thought processes on how, and I said, would we win this lawsuit? I said, yeah, we absolutely would, because we absolutely had the facts that could prove all of the things. We had the court trials, from our testimony and everything. So yes, we absolutely would have won, but at what cost? And so I wasn't willing to do that. And I think that was just another jab, another part of the death of Julie. It was just another her feeling defeated and just more trauma, more damage, more all this. And so Julie's path went down a very dark area. And having spoke to one of her brothers after her passing last year, she just had a life of very sad. She was just very sad. She unfortunately never got therapy, never took any initiative to help herself recover. And I don't believe she ever forgave him and moved past it. It was just part of who she was at that point. It defined who she was, and not in a positive way. And I don't want to see anybody else suffer like that. And if I could be one person's road to recovery and not die 37 years after the fact, it would just change everything. And that, to me, is why I do what I do and why I chose to go down this road. And it took me years to figure it out. I had no idea. I never in a million years thought I would ever do this. I mean, who wants to talk about that? Certainly wasn't me. I swept it, underneath. Not afraid of it, but definitely not wanting to be like, oh, look at me. I was raped. I was kidnapped. I was, held at knife point. All these things that nobody wants to. I definitely never wanted that to be my scarlet letter.
Well, I want to bring this up. You didn't go through with you did not go through with the lawsuit, but you didn't sit pat when it came to this book. You took other actions. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I have a tenacity about me, and I don't like anybody to win or control or lie, particularly about me. And so, it's a small town. I was living actually in Philadelphia at the time. My husband's from Philadelphia, and so I did what I think most people who have my type of personality will do, and that's I don't sit idle. And so I called the newspaper. I made a public response to the book, and I was interviewed by the local newspaper. We only have one newspaper. Get the newspaper, everybody. It was front page. And I discredited her. I also had her kicked out of the farmer's market. She was selling the book at the farmer's market locally. I called the head of the farmer's market and had her kicked out of the farmer's market so she could no longer sell her book there. She had a book signing scheduled at our local bookstore. I called them, had the books pulled off the shelf, and had her book signing canceled. And I did that as much as I could in, she had another bookstore that she worked with in a much, much larger town about an hour away. And I got them to do most of it. And then I had the publisher that published her book. I had them destroy the prints that they had, because she had self-published this book. And so she spent a lot of money to self-publish this book, and I made it virtually impossible for her to publish any more of the book because I had the plates destroyed. And that's just, because I was absolutely not going to allow that bullshit to be out there. My name was not going to be rubbed. She was not going to make this person, her son, out to be a martyr, which is what she called him in the book, that he was a martyr. And that night taught me a lot of things. And I think one of the things it taught me is that nobody is ever going to control me again. Never. And that book was part of that little bit of control. And I was not going to take that.
I have a question based on what you just said about that control piece, because something about that resonated in me, and I had already had a question. So this kind of ties in. It kind of helps me answer it a little bit, but I don't like making up stories about people. So based on everything that happened, I know that for me, like I had a certain feeling of guilt around the situation itself because like you guys, I made the choice to go with people I didn't know necessarily. And it took me like years of therapy to let go of the guilt that came with that. Cause it was like, well, if you had to just listen to the rule that they tell you as kids, like don't talk to strangers, then this wouldn't have happened. But it seems to me clearly like that you might have two forms of that because one, it happened, but then also you survived. So then there's like another level. So for people who maybe, like you said, 8 women came forward that they didn't file reports. So maybe for the people who don't have that tenacity that you do, like how can you say words about how you were able to navigate that feeling of like guilt for those who may need a little bit more encouragement to come forward?
Ooh,
I
girl.
know. Sorry.
Well, first of all, I don't think that there's a wrong way to respond. We would like to believe that if we're in a situation on how we're going to respond, but the truth is we have no idea until we're in that exact moment. We have absolutely no clue how we're going to respond. And to pretend that you do is a little bit arrogant. So, how I navigate that, I absolutely had a lot of guilt for a long time. And I probably still have some just because we never can be so at peace with where we're at that we don't continue to try to move forward and make it even a greater journey. So when Julie died last year, I went through a huge chunk of guilt for a couple of weeks again, to the tune of where my best friend, she's like, Holly, maybe you should go back to therapy, with lots of love, because I'm one of the types of people that when I was little, I used to think that therapy was because you're weak. And now as an adult, and actually by the time I had gone through my therapy, I realized that it's actually a sign of strength to be willing to be vulnerable and put yourself out there for somebody else to judge. And so I took that and I internalized that guilt for a while. And I guess my guilt for that was that I couldn't save her again. I couldn't save her that night. I couldn't save her again. And I had some guilt because I pretty much cut ties with her at 23. And then I had some guilt that I wouldn't pursue this lawsuit to help her have closure, although I don't think it would have.
Yeah.
In a logical, in the back of your logical brain.
Yeah.
And then I had guilt that she just suffered her whole life. Like that night killed her. It just took 37 years for it to reach the end. And I don't know. I guess you have to get out of your own way and realize that even had I done all the right things, she's going to be where she's at.
Yeah.
And I have to take myself out of the equation. and just go, Julie did the best that Julie could do.
Yeah.
With Julie's mind where she was. And there was nothing that I would have been able to do for Julie at that moment.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I wish I could really answer your question with clarity. And the truth is, I don't know. We navigate our own journeys, and we just try to love ourselves enough to have enough grace to be able to realize that I'm not God. I will never be God. I will never be perfect. I can work on having, like, striving for perfection, but knowing that that's never going to be an achievable goal.
Yeah.
Strive all day long and I will still never be the Lord.
Yeah.
So that's, it's just understanding that and giving and not comparing yourself, because that's, what's that saying? Comparison is the thief of joy. Oh, it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And people now with social media, it's at the forefront of even more of what people look at, because you're seeing this like perfect postcard moment in time of somebody's perfect life that you don't see the 25 I'm gonna kill you if you don't smile for this picture moments. And you're like, living the life, living the dream, I'm perfect.
Yeah.
Life is not perfect. Life is messy. Life is super, super messy. And so people will compare their lives to somebody's snapshot of perfection that that they are only letting you see. They're letting you see this tiny little bit, and our lives are so much greater than that.
Yes. Thank you.
The public itself, we know that Julie wanted you to continue with the trying to take mom to court. The public itself, did they understand, or were there quite a few of them that were trying to also lead you in the way of, you need to take this lady to court, you need to do this?
Oh, not really. My husband at first was, to be honest, he just wanted to go shoot her. Like, he just wanted to hop on a plane and fly to Colorado and just kill her because she was the devil to him. And my husband actually went through a period of time where he was extraordinarily anxious and had trouble sleeping because of that. And he just saw everything that it was doing to me. And it was really hard for a while. I mean, I probably went through, 6 months of kind of depression. I remember calling out my best friend and just literally bawling. I mean, just bawling hysterically because I couldn't believe that somebody would do something so detrimental to my character. And I'm like, how can this woman say this and be so brash and hard and cruel? It was just cruel. It was cruel. And it was just mean. Like, how could you say such horrible things that were so not true and documented not true?
Did you read the book?
Mm-hmm.
You read it from cover to cover?
Oh, yes.
And yeah, takes
Yeah.
all kinds in this world. I mean, look, we all love our kids, and we're going to try to stick up for our kids to the best of our ability, but at the detriment of someone else. I'm not going to understand that, But uh, Holly, who were you able to go to that helped you get through this?
Oh, Maureen Knuckles, my angel. She has passed away now. Um, she was my therapist, and God bless her. I put that woman through some serious hell.
Mm,
Seriously, she just never gave up on me. She never quit on me, which was shocking because I think I would have quit on me. I was a bullheaded kid. I'm a bullheaded person. No, I am still a bullheaded person. I was very, very bullheaded. And, we had therapy once a week, and it was like for, I would say, almost an entire year. The only thing that came out of my mouth during that hour-long session was F you. You don't know what the F you're talking about. How the F do you know me? I mean, I basically just told her to fuck off every week after week after week. And she would pull and she'd try and it'd be like, sorry, lady, you got nothing. You can't help me. And then finally one day she was like, and she'd been telling me this, but finally one day it got through to me. She said, the only way you're going to get out of this is if I release you. And I'm never going to do that until you start talking. And I'm like, ah! Damn you, court system. I was so pissed. I was so angry. And thank God they did that. Thank God the victims advocacy was so pushy in this because she saved my life. She saved my life. Absolutely saved my life.
at what point did your defiance become realization that, oh my God, this is working? I'm feeling better.
I don't know that I ever actually had a defining moment. I just wanted to get out of it. I'm like, all right, I'll just talk. Yeah, I guess I was probably 19 when she finally told me that I don't have to go anymore if I don't want to. And, I went voluntarily for a while. And then I went to group therapy that she had strongly encouraged me to do. And at first I was a little bit like, I don't know how I feel about that. Nobody needs to know any more of my crap. But what was really interesting to me during group therapy is we did some seriously incredible exercises that I can't wait to do with my clients, my new clients. But I think that one of the greatest things for me was to understand that I wasn't alone. And there was one lady in particular in this group who was quite a bit older than me. I want to say, well, at that time, I mean, she was probably only like 5 years older than me, but at that point, I felt like she was, much older lady. And she had been raped by her father for like years and years and years and had several children from him. And that was so, I mean, I just remember listening to her story and just crying. And I kept thinking, Jesus, what's the big deal about mine? Mine was only like 6 hours long. Like,
Yeah.
what do you do 6 hours in a lifetime? And she was like 13 years and she has kids. And I'm just like, her story impacted me so much. That was a very huge turning point for me to really see And it actually kind of led me down a path of social work. So I did social work for a long number of years, and I worked with kids in foster care, and I did AmeriCorps for a year. And I volunteered at the DA's office in a Scared Straight program that I helped, and ironically went to the prison that my assailant was in. Not at that time, because he had already been murdered at that point. But I went to that prison, and that was pretty crazy. Um, but it was, it led me down another journey, another path, and then I went into residential treatment. I worked in residential treatment with boys with behavioral issues.
Hmm.
They were ages 6 to 14, and that was just another, like, oh my gosh, how can I feel so bad about my little moment, my little snapshot of crap, when these kids are being sold for drugs, given away so that somebody can be pleasured, so they can have, another I don't know how they divvy out, but another gram or another bag of meth or whatever. Just was so incredibly disturbing. And I did that. I worked in residential for 8 years, and that was a really hard job. It was a really hard job. And so I think just seeing um, that my little snapshot really isn't, like, if these kids can survive, you know, and ironically, I've got my 8-year-old great nephew who has moved in with us, that's been living with us, and we're fostering him because my niece is a drug addict and an alcoholic, and she has abandoned her children. And so now I'm taking care of this little boy. It's so strange how it all works and how it all comes to, like, this full circle of life. And then Julie dies, and I have this realization that I need to do something more. And I can't just idly sit on this just because I don't want to talk about it, just because it is ugly, just because it's hard. So what?
One of the things that I can relate to you is I see people with TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, who can't speak, who can't walk, who are unable to function properly. And I see them, and like you said, it's like, what the hell? I have migraines every day. That's my curse from my TBI. And I tell them that I have migraines, and they treat me like, they're like, oh my God, how do you live with that? And I'm like, I'm able to function. I have, and it's one of those things that you look and you say, good God, things can be worse. I have a question then, Diamond. I want to send it back to you. You mentioned forgiveness. What does that forgiveness look like for this gentleman? I don't want to call him a gentleman, for this person who's no longer with us. And
Mhm. Uh, you know, I think it looks different for everybody.
mhm.
For me, there was an analogy, and I'm going to screw it up really badly, but it basically boils down to holding on to anger and your right to be mad. It's like carrying around a backpack of boulders. You know, it's kind of like you're so angry and you're so pissed off that you're going to drink some poison and you're going to expect them to die. And so there's so many different analogies out there that are so much more eloquent than how I can put it. But it was basically me holding that monkey. It was just carrying that backpack full of boulders on my shoulders. And as soon as I decided that I am not forgiving him because he deserves forgiveness, I am forgiving him because I deserve forgiveness. I deserve to have that released. And I was 19, actually. I was incredibly lucky. Again, because Maureen Knuckles was such an amazing therapist that wouldn't quit on me. And I forgave him. I forgave him for me. It was selfish for me to forgive him, and it was what I needed to do for me. And it was a huge relief. As soon as I was able to release that, be like, you're on your own journey. You have to answer to God. I don't have to. And I released it. Now I do want to say that it wasn't just like a decision. I did a lot of things. I wrote a letter and I stapled it to a tree and I beat the shit out of it with a bat, and then I ripped it up and I peed on it after I burnt it. And I mean, I did a lot of things to be able to release and forgive and all of that stuff. And actually, after he died, I even peed on his grave. Like I did. And that was for me. That was for me going, okay, I'm done. And literally releasing. And so it looks, like I said, it looks different. And some people can just make a decision and forgive, and other people have to go through a process to forgive. And I needed to go through a process, and I did, and it was incredible. I loved it.
Well, Diamond, I know that you've got another meeting that you're delaying a little bit for, and I appreciate that. But do you? I'm going to let you do the give your last thoughts, please.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for your courage and your vulnerability to be here today. And I want to just with the theme of the show, you mentioned that when you first joined therapy, it was begrudgingly, and I get that 100%. Then eventually you got to a place where you could go and, you actually you weren't forced to go. And then I know you said that your best friend currently, when Julie had passed, had brought up maybe you considering therapy again. I don't know if you chose to do that, but in coaching, one of the things that I like to say to let people know, like, just the possibility. We have this phrase is what's possible with support is, and then you fill in the blank. And so I'm wondering if maybe as one of your last words, you could fill in the blank for us on what's possible with support after something like this.
Oh, friend, that's limitless. That is limitless. That is 100% getting out of your own way and not letting all of the fear and the unknown stop you. And there is no motivation. You either have to, you do it and the motivation comes. But yeah, get out of your own way. Don't compare your own journey, and give yourself an immense amount of grace. Give yourself the same amount of grace that you would give somebody else that you loved.
Yeah.
And you have to love yourself enough to do it.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Diamond. Going ahead and get on with your day, but thank you so very much. I appreciate it. And then, Holly, tell us about now. What are you doing now?
Well, goodness, I am really, I'm developing a program to help coach women who have had childhood sexual trauma.
What are the first things that you tell someone when they come in to talk to you?
It is all relevant, Zach. There is no cookie cutter answer. Everybody is unique. Everybody's story, everybody's responses, and everybody's path and where they're at on that path is completely different. So it is all different. It is not the same.
I'm going to tell you, we've had 2 conversations on this, and both of these conversations have been so powerful. And I appreciate your honesty, your openness, and I really want to thank you so much for coming on and speaking of this. And I want to further that, and I also want to thank you for being there for other people who are dealing with this. And I think it's such a fantastic thing. And I want to let you know that Footprints Forward, Community Pay It Forward, all of our programs are going to be here if you ever need anything. I want to thank you for giving us a little extra time. People can go to your website, amboh.net, amboh.net. Is there any other way for them to get a hold of you, or is that the best way?
They can email me. It's holly@amboh.net.
Okay.
HOLLY@amboh.net.
That sounds great. Do you have anything special going on with the oils right now that we can help you promote?
Oh, I'm always doing something. I'm going to a convention tomorrow to learn more. So 2 or 3 times a year, I get more education, and so I'm leaving tomorrow for another several days of intense education and training. So, I'm promoting all of my emotional oils. I guess we have some incredible emotional oils. This one happens to be Peace, so that I put it on before and kind of during our interview to help keep me calm and not overly speaking too fast, or trying to be able to calm my mind to have good thoughts and words. But
do you suggest someone sit down and talk to either yourself or someone else when they're going through, they're trying to find the right oils, because I guess it's kind of like, putting on anything, that if you're just trying to mix stuff up, might not work right. If with the proper guidance, you can probably find a better fit. Do you suggest people contact you and have a conversation before they just go out and purchase any oil?
well, it's like cars, I guess. There's some cars that have been produced over time that aren't really that great, and there are cars that have been produced over time that are incredible. What I will say is that because it is a kind of a bandwagon thing right now, where everybody's like, "Oh, essential oils," I'm going to buy them at the dollar store or at the gas station or at Walmart, and I guess I just have to. I don't know how else to be but blunt. Those aren't essential oils. Those aren't actually real. Those are mass produced, and they're nothing more than a fragrance. They're nothing more than a perfume. So while they might smell good, they are not going to do anything therapeutically for you. They're matter of fact, they actually could harm you. So fragrances are no bueno. They're not good for you. So I promote doTERRA for one reason, and that's because I've actually been to some of the farms and seen the production. I know all of the chemical constituents of each individual bottle of oil because I have on the bottoms of the oils, there's numbers, and you can go directly onto the science site and type in those numbers, and you can see the exact amount of linalool in lavender oil or whatever. You can see literally every speck of what is in there. And so you know exactly what you're putting into your body, because whether you smell anything or wear anything, it gets into your bloodstream. So even if it's fake, it's still getting into your bloodstream. So every time anything, whether it's pollution or Febreze or Glade plugins or whatever, all of those things get into your bloodstream, which can cause and have been proven to interrupt the endocrine system. So we have a lot of new health issues because of fragrances, like endometriosis is huge for women because of fake smells directly impeding your endocrine system. And so I would say do your homework. And I will slightly disagree with you. If you do your homework and you have the right brand of essential oils that you know is not a fragrance and all of that, you really can't screw up. You really can't. You can't buy, a bunch of different oils from doTERRA specifically and mix them into a diffuser and cause problems. You really cannot screw up. It doesn't matter. What I will say is when you are blending your own, you can cause slightly different responses. So for example, layering essential oils in a specific way for, let's say, sleep. If you layer them in different orders than is recommended, you might have weird dreams.
Wow.
Because it was mixed differently. Now it's still going to help you sleep, but you might have some.
It's just the waking up's going to be a little bit different. Instead of waking up nice and relaxed, you might wake up going, "The hell was that?"
Yeah, and so that was one of the interesting things I learned early on in my journey. I had made my husband this hibernation blend, and I put it in a roller bottle like this, blended it myself, and he wore it at night, and he was like, "This is so amazing! It's so good." And then he ran out, and he's like, "Okay, you need to make it for me again." And I think I just layered it differently, and that next morning he's like, "Babe, what did you do?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Well, I slept, but I had very vivid, weird dreams." And I'm like, "I don't think that's possible." And then I did some research and I found out that, oh, yes, it is possible. And I said, "Well, I guess you're either going to use that and you're going to have weird dreams till it's over, or I have to figure out what I did the first time to blend it." And so that was interesting to learn that. But yeah.
We have a question here from Sam Thomas, and the knowledge, it helps keep the peace within you, right? You having this knowledge, you can use it as a tool for your own inner peace. The knowledge that you had, and I'll add to this question, did the learning that you have and the knowledge that you accepted and you took in through your years of trying to deal with this, did that help you get over Julie's death at all? Was there just something completely, this was like everything that you learned was kind of pushed out the window because you were like, "Oh my God, this is something I just, this is something that's way out there"?
for about the last 13 years, I don't know that there's ever been a moment where when something happens, I don't instantly think, what do I need to do for me? And I absolutely do go to the oils very quickly. And it's kind of fun to see that my kids are exactly the same way. I mean, my son, he's 15 now, and he instantly goes, "Mom, I just got stung by a wasp. Where's the lavender oil?" Like it's so interesting to see. And now with my 8-year-old great nephew, he's all about it. He's like, every night he's like, "I want you to put frankincense and lavender and serenity into my diffuser tonight." I mean, it's really kind of funny because, you don't know what kind of impact you're having until it's there. Like, I mean, my grandson is 4, and he was only 40 minutes old when he had his first experience with essential oils. And it was great because I got to anoint him with frankincense, which is in the Bible. It was so incredible to be able to take this brand new baby and anoint him literally on the crown of his head and down his spine with such a precious oil that is going to be so beneficial to his development. And I just know that, and there hasn't been a day in this child's life that he hasn't experienced essential oils. He's 4 and he's every single day of his life. And so it makes me feel very proud that I can help my family heal in, these physical issues, but also, when they're going through some stuff, we can deal with the emotional aspect of it too, which is really, it's really kind of cool. And you know what? You don't have to know anything about essential oils. You just have to be willing to have an open mind. And this little 8-year-old, he just looks in my oil box and he goes, this one. And he picks it out and he goes, "This is the one I want." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that was the exact one that you should have picked." You just, so intuition really works really well with the oils too. So
yeah, that is so that's so great. Sam's back with one more. Well, there you go. So Holly, again, I want to thank you so much. Your website is amboh.net. amboh.net.
Yeah, that's my kids' names.
Oh, okay.
Amber is my daughter. Bodie is my son.
There you go.
Amber.
I use a combination of my 2 sons' names as well on quite a few things. Just Free, Justice and Jeffrey. So yeah, I use that quite often. So please, if you ever have anything to announce, come back and join us again. We would love to keep up with what you're doing. If there's anything that we can help you by spreading your word, please contact us because we're always going to be here. We would like to help you help as many people as you can. Sam, thank you very much for reaching out. I greatly appreciate it. So, but also to Aaron, who had technical difficulties, and to Diamond, who had to jump off from the rest of the family. Please remember to love somebody out there because somebody out here loves you. Remember, if you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. No one needs to go it alone when we all come together. We will be back next week with more stories and trying to help as many people as we can with Footprints Forward. Please, if you have a story that you would like to tell, get a hold of me. My phone number is 970-909-0751, 970-909-0751. And maybe you can be here as a guest on Footprints Forward, because all we're trying to do is make changes in people's lives. Again, Holly, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your training tomorrow. And I really hope to see you. What, Wednesday is our meeting? Thursday. Thursday's our meeting, I think.
I won't be there this Thursday.
Okay. Well,
I will
hopefully
be in Utah doing training. So.
okay. Well, that's fine. We'll miss you, but we'll see you again soon. So, all right. We'll be back next week. Thank you all very much. Please, any questions, 970-909-0751.